Hello and welcome to the Adventure Toolkit example reel number 5. My name is Glenn Storm and I'm from Hot Iron Productions. Today we're going to look at tools from the audio folder. We've created a microphone object, and we did this before in a tutorial about making tools. For purposes of review, this was simply done by creating an empty object and then adding a standard audio component called an audio listener. This is the same component that you'll find on cameras, and yes, I needed to deactivate the audio listener on our main camera. Otherwise, Unity would complain that there's more than one listener on in our scene at runtime. Okay, the first tool we're going to look at is Audio Fader. The Audio Fader tool is meant to fade volumes up or down on audio objects. Okay, but I need to explain what an audio object is. It's pretty simple. An audio object is a game object with an audio source on it. Okay, so again, created an empty game object and added a standard component from the audio folder that comes with Unity called audio source. So we've created one here, and I've populated with an audio clip of an airport boarding announcement. And then I set our volume to 0.5, and I left the rest of it alone. An audio object, because it's by default set to play on awake, will begin playing once the tool is activated. Okay, that's an audio object. So our audio fader has a number of properties we need to look at. The first one is audio object, and this is the game object reference of the audio object to fade. We're going to fade the volume on our airport sound. The next property is fade all children. If this checkbox is checked and the audio object we've specified has child objects with audio on it, it will fade the volume on all of those child objects as well. The next property is target volume. This is the value at which the volume will be faded to. In this case, we've got our airport volume at 0.5 and we want to fade it out with our audio fader. So we're going to turn that target volume to 0. The next property is fade delay, and this is the number of seconds from the activation of this tool until the fade begins. Next is fade duration. This is the length of the fade, and we don't want our fade to go over a course of 2 seconds. And in case you don't want that fade to happen linearly, you'd like to do something more interesting, you can use our fade interpolation to fade it using our curve editor. Do something a little more fancy. The last property on our audio fader tool is reset on complete, and if this is checked, it will deactivate the tool once the fade is done and get it ready to reactivate, so you can use it over and over again at runtime. And for this example, we have checked it because we want to not just fade it down, but during runtime I'll fade it back up just to demonstrate that as well. And it's important to note, for these audio tools I need audio in order to demonstrate, and all of our audio has been provided royalty-free from soundj.com. Thank you, soundj.com. Shout out. Let's go ahead and hit play. Let's turn on our airport boarding announcement sound.
Thank you for waiting, ladies and gentlemen.
It sounds like an airport boarding announcement. Let's go ahead and turn on our audio fader tool, which will wait half a second and then fade it out. Okay, and it has faded out our audio on the boarding announcement. Let's go ahead, while it's still running, set it to a target of 0.5 and hit it again, because it's been set to reset on complete. That's possible here. And it fades our boarding announcement back up. Great. That's our audio fader tool. The next tool to look at is the audio series. This tool is meant to play a series of audio objects in sequence. It is also meant to read the length of each clip that you've populated the audio object with and calculate the times of those plays for you so you don't have to worry about it. And this is especially useful for situations where you've got like dialogue that you're retaking, or you're tweaking a sound and the length of the clip is going to change and you just don't want to retime it. You don't have to worry about that. This tool will handle that for you. Okay. Let's look at the properties. The first is audio steps. This tool is meant to handle not just one sequence, but multiple sequences. So I've got 2 sequences I want to play. For this demonstration, I would like to play our beep sound, a footstep sound, and then a drip. And then I want to play a second sequence. I think I set it to footsteps, and then drip, and then beep. Okay, so I've got 2 sequences I want to play. Let's look at the audio steps. Each step has first a step label, so you can rename it something other than element 0. Next is the audio sequence itself, and this is a list of audio objects in the sequence that you want them to play. So this first sequence again is beep, footsteps, and drip. Next property is time padding, and this is the number of seconds between each clip where the audio series tool will wait before playing the next clip. Okay, so we're going to play beep, footsteps, and drip, and between each of these it's going to wait half a second. The next property is activate on step, and this will activate another game object once this step is reached. In other words, once it gets to this sequence, it can activate another tool and act like a trigger. This particular step can act like a trigger. The last property in the audio steps is audio parent. And what this will do is reparent the audio object under another object in your scene. This is useful if you would like your audio objects to be closer to the audio listener in question. Sometimes this is on a camera, sometimes this is better to put on a character. In our case, we'd like to parent it under the microphone. And we do that so that it teleports to that position, it's parented under it, it follows it, and it will remain clear through the length of the clip. Okay, those are the audio steps, and again we have a sequence of beep, footsteps, and drip, and then we have a second sequence, footsteps, drip, and beep. After the audio steps, there's activate on complete. So after it's completed all of the steps, all of the sequences, we may want it to activate another game object and use this audio series tool as a trigger. Last is reset on complete. So once it's done with all its audio steps, it will deactivate this tool and get it ready for reactivation. So you could use this over and over again. Okay, let's go ahead and hit play and activate our audio series tool, and you'll hear it play 2 sequences. So first it played beep, footsteps, and drip, and then footsteps, drip, and beep. And you'll notice each of these clips had a different length, but that didn't matter because our audio series tool handled that and put our half-second delay between each one. That's the audio series tool. The last tool we're going to look at today is audio single, and this is probably one of the most useful tools in the audio folder. It's meant to work on audio objects themselves. In other words, I've got an object here set with a water droplet, and I've set it to loop. What I like about loop is that it will play the sound over and over again. What I don't like about loop is that it will typically sound very mechanical. The interval between each water drop is going to sound the same, and the pitch of each loop play is going to sound exactly the same. So we have a tool here, audio single, attached to this audio object that's going to help with both of those. Let's look at the properties on the audio single tool. First, there's start delay. This is a delay between the activation of this audio object and the beginning of playing the clip. We've set this to half a second. Next is loop delay, and this is the number of seconds between each loop in which it will wait, and we've left this at 0. The next property is max loop delay. This property works with loop delay and finds an interval to delay that is a number of seconds between these two values. In other words, I'm going to hit play, and this water droplet sound will loop over and over. And this is going to find a value between 1.5 and 0 to delay between each loop. The next property to look at is pitch variance. This will vary the pitch each time it is played, whether it's looping or not. And this number represents a variance of this pitch value that you've set. Right now it's at the default of 1. And I've set our pitch variance at 0.2. So each time this plays, it's going to reset the pitch to somewhere between 0.8 and 1.2. And it will keep that variance at 1, but it will vary it that much. Okay. The last value to look at is reset on trigger, and if this is checked, it will deactivate this audio object and get it ready to replay once reactivated. Okay, let's go ahead and hit play, and let's activate this dripping. If you listen closely, you'll notice that it's not only varying in the amount of time between each loop, but it's also varying in the pitch. Sometimes it is higher, sometimes it is lower. This makes it sound a lot more organic. Okay, that's the audio object, or sorry, the audio single tool. And that's all the time we have for this video. Please stay tuned for the next one.